Masters of Change Show, Season 1, Episode 5.
Masters of Change Show, bringing you real entrepreneurs, real experiences, and real advice, with big inspiration and a whole lot of soul. Whether you're looking to start or grow your business, hack life, or learn personal growth strategies, we are confident you'll hear game-changing ideas and perspectives here. Ready to learn? Always with a big smile, with your host, Barar Ali. Listen to the show 24/7 at www.mastersofchangeshow.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. And that's another episode of the show. And I have a very good friend of mine here as a guest on the show. My good friend, Bennett Coles. He's a publisher of Promontory Press. How are you doing, Ben?
Yeah, bro, I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to have you. So I know a little bit about Promontory. The audience don't know. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Ben and the company and how you got started?
Yeah, you betcha. Well, I mean, I'm an author at heart, and I've always been an author. And about 7 years ago, so about 2008, I was looking into various options to get into the professional world of writing. Mm-hmm. And I went through the traditional model, seeking out an agent and everything, and wound up with a tidy pile of rejection slips. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I mean, rejection slips are what every author gets. But what I began to notice was how quickly they were coming back. Like it was like the agents had their emails on auto reply saying no. You know, it was clear they hadn't read anything. And the clincher for me was when a friend of mine who is a successfully published, commercially award-winning successful author, she tried to get her agent to look at me, and her agent wouldn't even take that personal recommendation. And she said, "Oh, he's new? No, I don't want to look at him. Can't sell him." And so that's when I realized just how hard it is, even harder than it's ever been for a new author to break in, because with the publishing world having been hit by the recession of 2008, and then the internet and ebooks and Amazon, they're really feeling the squeeze. So they've become even more risk averse than they've been. So I tried my hand at self-publishing, and that's a whole nother story. But long and the short of it is, it took me about 1.5 years, but I was able to make success of my first book, Virtues of War, through self-publishing. And I realized at that point, I don't want any author to have to go through what I went through to get here. It's too painful. It's too expensive. It's just too many dead ends. I thought, how about I've blazed this trail. Maybe I can help other authors come along with me. And so I created Promontory Press, as originally it was this idea that other self-published authors would come under this umbrella of Promontory Press, and I would support them and give them the nationwide distribution that I'd been able to achieve, but they'd keep their individuality. Unfortunately, I discovered pretty quickly that now that Promontory was building a reputation, I had to make sure that I brought quality books that the bookstores wanted to take. So very quickly, Promontory developed from being basically a stable of self-publishing into far more of a traditional style publisher, because I had to make sure that every book that I presented to the bookstores was top quality, because I now had a reputation that I had to protect for the company. But in becoming a traditional publisher, I discovered that, well, I'll just become like every other publisher, and that I have to say no to just about every author that comes along, because it's too much of a risk for me to take. And that's when I developed something called hybrid publishing, which is somewhere in between. It's not self-publishing, because the publisher puts a lot of money into the book, and the publisher makes their money by selling books, not by what an author pays them. But it's not quite traditional publishing either, because the author also pitches in at the front. So the author does make an investment at the beginning, but the book is treated exactly like a traditionally published book, in that it has top quality inside and out. It is presented in person to the national buyers at Chapters, at Barnes & Noble, and it's treated like a traditional book in every way. But what it does is it allows me as a traditional publisher to reach that little bit further into the talent pool and take a chance on those books, particularly from first-time authors. that I wouldn't otherwise have been able to take because the risk is just too high.
Of course.
Like I say to the author, if you can help me reduce my risk a bit by investing up front, I'll cover the rest of the costs and I'll do all the work. But now I can take that chance on you that otherwise I would have just had to reject them.
Of course.
So that's what Promontory has sort of grown into. We're a traditional publisher with self-publishing roots that has created this hybrid model that allows more first-time authors to get that chance that they deserve.
So when you talk about an investment from an author, that investment, what, not necessarily cover, but what are you talking in terms of what is you become your responsibility and becomes the author responsibility?
Yeah, you mean financially, or as far as what we do with duties?
On both cases, like we have, for instance, publisher, like listeners on the show who would be, have their own book, or they have had certain publishers and they're interested in the idea. What would be you would be covering on a ground level from a responsibility perspective? I mean, you said not necessarily the self-publishing perspective, but you're looking at it from a very hybrid style.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, as far as the things that we're going to do, it's very much like a traditional model in that the author provides the manuscript, but Promontory has the editor, has the typesetter, the cover designer, the proofreader, the sales team, the marketing team. We do all the distribution. So in that sense, it's pretty much just like a traditional deal. The author brings the manuscript. The author has to be willing to work with the editor, because that's an interesting point, especially with self-publishing. A lot of authors aren't really that open to having their works edited because they think, oh, I've already edited it. It's fine. You don't need to change anything. And I mean, every author's like that. I'm like that. Nobody wants to change their work. But even if an author is contributing financially, they still have to be willing to let the book be edited because we're trying to make the book the best it can be.
Of course.
Also, we expect the author to be involved with the marketing. We don't expect them to do the marketing. I have a marketing team that are involved, and we'll teach the author, this is what you need to do. If you're not comfortable with social media, we'll teach you how to do social media. If you've never spoken in front of people before, we'll coach you on how to do that. But we still need the author to be part of the marketing team for their book, because nobody knows the book better than the author. Correct. Nobody's as passionate about the book as the author. Right. You've got to have that fire of the author as part of the team. So that's where it kind of comes into play, is manuscript and marketing is what we need the author to do.
So you get the manuscript. What if the person has an idea and does not have a manuscript? Would you be also accommodating? I mean, just like innovation, you invest in a company and you invest in an author. An author had a brilliant idea or something interesting under your horizon. Would that also be part of it? Just want to understand the perspective of it.
Yeah, generally not. Generally, we'll take a completed manuscript. Okay. However, if someone comes to me with a really fascinating idea, then I'd like to help them. And even if it's just to direct them to a great editor or coach that I know, or to give them some advice on how to improve it. Very occasionally, I have been convinced to ghostwrite a book or collaborate on a book. And that's fun. I love doing that if I love the project. It's just a question of time.
Correct.
I have my own books I have to write. When I start agreeing to write other people's books, it weighs me down a bit too much. In general, if the author's not ready, that's great. If the project's not ready, we'll just encourage them, tell them what we think they should do, and then come back to us when you're ready.
Brilliant. And now, what do you define as an author ready? Can you walk us, other than the manuscript, what is the topic? What do you take as part of your company? What kind of authors do you take?
Yeah, we try to stay as open to as many different kinds of authors as we can. I never wanted to be that publisher who says to an author, yeah, we don't take your kind. I wanted it to be open to whatever genre, whatever fiction, nonfiction. If it was a compelling story, a great argument, it deserves to have a shot at the market. I want to give it that shot. I mean, obviously, we don't take hate literature and we don't take porn. But otherwise, it's wide open. Certainly, I will talk to an author. If they come to me with, say, something like poetry, poetry is a very hard sell. We have taken poetry, and it's beautiful poetry, and it deserved that shot. But I tell the author up front, none of us are probably going to make our money back on this, just so you know. Like, I need them to know up front, if it's going to be difficult to make a commercial success of this book. I may sometimes suggest that authors even self-publish at that point, because that way they get to keep all the revenue themselves. Right. If I don't think that we as a traditional company can make more money for them than they could on their own, I'll often actually advise that. So there is definitely a market or marketability component to it as to whether we take a book or not. But because of the hybrid model that reduces my risk, it allows me to take more chances on books that, might be the next Harry Potter. We don't know yet until we get it out there.
Yeah. And have you worked with the clients where they suffered through the editing process or they suffered through the publishing process?
Have I worked with people who have suffered through it? Yeah, I think every author suffers a bit during editing. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, we have, I think we have about 50 authors at Promontory, and almost all of them have been edited by us. And yeah, sometimes they're very good about it. Sometimes they're not so good about it, but we always figure out a way. The manuscript still belongs to the author. That's important to understand, is that we as the publisher are not going to rewrite the book for them. The only thing an editor will do is try to make the author's voice come out more clearly or more effectively. So we're not going to take that away from the author. So I think, well, quite sure, all of our authors are happy at the end. They're not always happy in the middle, but they're usually happy most of the way through, and everyone's happy at the end because we wouldn't publish it otherwise. Yeah. If the author's not happy, then we're not moving forward.
And what about the first-time author? What are the challenges they face in order to really get published? I mean, maybe is it really the publishing, or sometimes it's a personal challenge that they go through in order to be ready to be out there?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be both. Certainly as a first-time author, from the industry perspective, it's hard because they have no platform, they don't have a sales record, but that's well understood. As an author who's just finished their first book, they have to be prepared that the book might not be as brilliant as they think it is. I got to be blunt about that, because we get better as we write more. I mean, my first published novel was actually my fourth novel that I'd written. Wow. So the first three were never published, and I don't think I'd ever want to publish them because I was getting better with each one. Sometimes authors don't realize that they're still developing their craft. And sometimes sometimes they're brilliant, but they still need editing. And some authors had never come across really hardcore editing before. There's a difference between proofreading and then editing, where we're going to move characters around and cut scenes and move chunks over here. That kind of editing, some authors don't always take well to. So any author who's going to be looking at any kind of publishing, they need to be ready for that. That someone knowledgeable, an editor, is going to come in and is going to want to change things. And they just got to work with the editor and figure out what is really going to make the book better. But they have to be open to that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I remember part of my work that was edited. You think that what you come up with the first time is the most brilliant thing that could come, and somebody comes in and look at the story from a totally different perspective, and they can say this is how it work out. Not necessarily work out, but how do you present it the best way to people that could read it? We're excited about our ideas. We own our ideas. We give birth to our ideas, and we think that we should be clinched to it. But sometimes the challenge is going over.
One of the ways that I've described editing to authors is you, the author, you know what you think you said. The editor will tell you what you actually said, because you'll have assumptions in your own brain as the author, and you'll just assume that the reader is making the same leaps that you are in your brain. And the editor will read it and go, yeah, you didn't connect these at all. Like, this doesn't make any sense here. That's the kind of thing that a good editor can do, is just show the author where things can be tightened or clarified, and always keep the author's voice pure, but just make it that much smoother.
Now, do you struggle as an owner of a publishing company and being publisher and being an author yourself? Do you also struggle between these two roles?
Yeah, definitely. As an author at heart, whenever I meet new authors, I'm so excited to talk to them, and I just want to take everybody and, oh yeah, we'll publish your book, we'll publish your book. But then I have to put my publisher hat on and say, I don't think that that's the best business decision for us to take that book. That's why I have an acquisitions editor, and she's cold and hard, and she has a bit of a, she can take that business perspective a little bit better than I can. But also myself, I have to switch roles sometimes. Like I'll have just finished giving editorial feedback to an author and explaining to them why we have to, kill their darlings and why we have to make these changes. And then I'll get my own editing back, like from my own editor, and I'll be like, "How dare you change one word of this?" And I have to, go have a glass of wine, settle down, and then realize my editor is actually making a lot of sense. So switching back and forth like that is interesting. It certainly keeps me sharp and it keeps me honest. And yeah, I think that I'm only a publisher because I have to be. I'm a publisher because I didn't like the industry that I found.
Right.
So I have to, play by the industry rules and break them where I can, but I still keep the author at the center of things. And I've had to do some strange things as a publisher because I want to keep my authors happy, because I want them to be informed. I want them to love this. I actually care about my authors. So it's, I'm not going to say that's unique in the publishing industry. It isn't, of course not. But my focus on authors, I think, is perhaps stronger than most publishers would be.
And I guess that's what makes you unique and make your approach unique and strategies to approach new authors. You try to keep as a quality as possible, but at the same time, once you get the author, you really believe it and think they have great power. You really take care of them.
Yeah, every book that we sign, we really believe in. The whole team believes in it. We wouldn't do it otherwise. If we have any doubts, we won't take a book. And if we reject a book, we always do it very nicely. And we'll always tell the author, why we didn't take it. And we'll give them recommendations on what to do. But a book that we take on, because we don't take that many. We only take about 20 to 25 a year.
Okay.
So, each one is special. And we want the author, we need the author to be really part of our team because they're going to be with us for a long time and they're going to be working closely with us. So yeah, the author's very important. It's not like we're not a machine, just churning through title after title. Every one of our authors has a personality that we want to respect and appreciate and remember that this is their work of art. Right. It may be our project, but it's still their work of art.
And that's so, it's so honesty, like this, honestly, in terms of realizing that this is their work and you are just there to help them out. And sometimes that's the hardest thing it's like you block them. It's like their piece of paper and you block them and you are now your company. But what your approach to it is you really become there to support them and they are the face of the message and face of the book that they try to.
Absolutely, because when the book's on the bookstore shelf, everybody looks at the book and the author. Nobody cares who the publisher is. Like we're not getting any publicity. Our authors are getting that. Right. We're a
Hello. I don't know what happened.
That's all right.
Hold on, let me just make sure we are. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, excellent.
Is this where you get to say to the audience, and we're back?
Yeah, and we're back. No, well, what we're going to do is I'll merge them together.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, hold on, let me see.
Do you want me to turn my video back on?
Yeah, please, if that's possible.
Yep.
Excellent. Now we can see you clearly. All right. Yeah, sorry, it cut off. I don't know. I hit the cable or something.
It's all right.
Yeah. So going back to it, you give that highlight to the author themselves.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. We want it. They're the story. They're the artist that we're trying to get out to the industry. And it's interesting. I've been to a lot of industry conferences. Some are author focused, some are publisher focused, and it's astonishing actually how bookstores and publishers and distributors and agents all seem to generally treat the author as the lowest form of the ecosystem when none of us would have a job if it wasn't for the authors.
Right.
The authors are the artists who create this art form, and we are here solely to support them. And yet so many authors get treated so shabbily by everybody else in the industry.
That's true.
I think it's the sign of a very established industry that hasn't necessarily had to change in a very long time. So
Absolutely.
the shakeup that's happening right now with the internet and ebooks, I think is a good thing. And I think the industry is long overdue for a little shakeup.
Brilliant. And you becoming part of it, giving that your approach to it, your approach to taking care of the author is what makes it unique, as we said earlier. Now, you mentioned you take about 20 to 25 authors a year. How do you find this process in terms of how long does it take from the author between the time they submit the manuscript until the book is outside and the book is launched, let's say?
Yeah, it's getting longer and longer each year as we get more and more settled into the traditional model. It's not the process of putting the book together that takes that long. It's all the marketing and the pre-marketing that has to happen. A book itself, we can probably, take from initial acceptance through the editing and cover design and so on to actually have a book in our hands in about 4 months. That's about how long it takes. But for the marketing and the sales, we have to pitch the book to the national buyers 4 months before launch. And of course, we want to have some good solid reviews under our belt before then so that we can show the buyers. So back that up another 2 to 3 months. So all of a sudden, we're 6 to 7 months before launch, and we have to have the book ready to go.
Right.
And if it takes 4 months to do that, we're talking 10 to 11 months before launch that we have to sign the author. So it's about a year out is when we have to, just last week, we finalized our list for the spring 2016 season. Wow. And we have 9 books that we're going to be taking to market for spring 2016. And we have to get started now to have them ready.
It must be a very busy and I can see how much stress that is to really handle all of these aspects of the book before you move forward. Talking about no experience in book publishing, but I can see how long it would take and the time factor and making sure that all of these happen on time. Otherwise, the book will take longer to be released.
That's right. Yeah, it's everything has to be done in sequence, and it starts so far out in front, and all these things cost money. And that's what I try to explain to authors is that we've spent pretty much everything we're going to spend on the book before it even hits shelves. And so that's where the risk is. Right. We put in all of our investment up front, and then even after the book hits shelves, we still don't get paid for another 4 months after that. So it's a risky business. Publishing, there's no question. Absolutely. And it's nothing like self-publishing. And that's the thing, is that self-publishing happens so quickly. Basically, you can upload your file, you can put together a cover, you can have a book published in a week, self-publishing, and it just goes online. And there it is. There's no requirement for publicity. There's no requirement for reviews. You don't have to pitch the buyers. It just goes up. Yeah. And so the self-publishing world is sort of the instant gratification of publishing. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to self-publish, that's great. But if you do want to traditionally publish, you have to understand the timelines. Right. And that's the biggest trouble I have trying to explain it to authors, is just how long it takes. And if from expectation of an author, author think, okay, I'm going to have the book published in 2 months. Guys, you should be expecting hit Amazon and all these other places. And the reality hits that it takes longer. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And, we're very honest about it. We're very transparent. I'll tell the author all of this before we sign. Because the last thing I want is to have an author unhappy after they've signed a contract with us. So I explain it all beforehand. And some authors are impatient. They want to get this book out faster. Great. Off you go. Here's some advice. Go do it yourself. Right. And good luck to you. So talking about advice, what advice would you give to people who are self-publishing their books? Self-publishing relies pretty much 100% on online sales. Yes, you can go to events yourself. And if you are one of those people who are very, very good in front of people and can really hustle books, you can sell a decent number, a couple of hundred. But if you want to really gain traction, it's going to be online. And the problem with online is that you're up against a field of about 5 million other books. And so your social media platform is key. to have the, choose the 3 social media that you like best: Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, whichever. The ones you like best and the ones that your book is most appropriate to, and make them your own. Go find the people who will like your book, connect with them, and ultimately it's word of mouth. Mm-hmm. That is what's going to sell your book. It's what sells books everywhere, is word of mouth.
Fascinating, yeah.
When you're doing it online, now you have to do it through engagement of people through social media. And it can't just be buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. It has to be about 90%. Oh, you like cats? I like cats too. Here's some neat stuff about cats. And, talk about cats 90% of the time. And then 10% of the time say, oh, by the way, if you love cats, I have this great book about cats. And you can toss it in. But really, it's about building a community around you, getting well known, get a few reviewers, online reviewers, like bloggers and so on, who can review your book and let them spread it by word of mouth. But I guess if you keep it in mind, it's still word of mouth. Right. All this fancy technology hasn't changed anything. It's still word of mouth. And all the ad campaigns you want, they may bring people to look at it, but if they haven't heard about your book, they don't know what it is, they're just going to click on again. It's much better if they hear it from somebody else.
Right.
So word of mouth.
And so word of mouth amplified as much as you
absolutely,
can.
Yeah, absolutely. Do it smart. There certainly are great ways to reach your target audience online, but you have to be savvy. You have to change as the trends change. Like Facebook changes their rules every 6 months. So you have to stay on top of that. Personally, I find it exhausting. I'm really not the best guy to tell anyone how to be successful at marketing online. Probably 5 years ago, I was good at it, but now, I don't know. But as far as the technology goes, but the principle that never changes is find the people who will like your book, engage with them in a friendly way, and let them know about your book in a non-offensive way. That's it. Ultimately, that's it.
Now, what have you seen over the last, since 2008, what have you seen the industry changed about, what changed in the industry in terms of not just publishing, but about writing in general?
Well, there's no question that ebooks and print on demand have just been complete game changers for the publishing industry. Print on demand means that you can print one book at a time now. And that was the huge barrier for self-publishing in the past, because the only way to make books cost effective was to print at least 1,000 of them at once.
Right.
And so you had this garage full of books you're trying to sell one at a time. Print on demand allows people to sell books, to print them one at a time. And that's great. And ebooks are even better because they cost nothing to make. Right. You upload the digital copy once and there you go. You can just sell them basically pure profit the whole time. So those two things have been the biggest game changers for the authors, for sure. It's broken down the single biggest barriers to entry for anyone to get into the publishing industry. It hasn't changed distribution to stores, though. And that is mostly because the traditional industry is very conservative. They don't want to change. They're feeling under threat. And so they're closing their doors to anything other than the traditional channels. And that's still a challenge. And I can't say that it's changing very fast. From the author side, lots has changed. From the industry side, not a lot has changed. There are companies like CreateSpace and Ingram Spark that have sort of cottoned on to this self-publishing gold mine, I'm sure it is in their eyes, to make money out of this. But the big 5 publishers, in fact, last year it was big 6, but then 2 of them merged, Penguin and Random House merged, for the sole purpose of taking on Amazon, because they feel threatened by Amazon. And there is change coming to the traditional industry, but it's coming very slowly. And we're still not sure where it's going to fall out. So early days, I think I'd say.
That was the end of episode 5 of the Masters of Change show. You can listen to part 2 of the interview with Bennett Coles at mastersofchangeshow.com. If you like the episode, please subscribe on iTunes, like our page on Facebook, and share your favorite part with your friends. Until the next episode, have a great day.
Masters of Change Show, bringing you the most unique, brilliant, and inspiring entrepreneurs who will share their expertise to help you start, and grow your business or inspire you to follow your passion and live your dreams. With your host and a big smile, Barar Ali. Listen to the show 24/7 at www.mastersofchangeshow.com.